When measuring angles, drag the protractor to measure each angle. Find the baseline and make sure that the vertex of the angle is lined up with the center mark of your protractor. Now we have to determine which scale to use of our protractor. As you can see, there are both black and blue numbers on this protractor, and that's so that we can measure from either side. You always want to use the scale that the baseline is going through at 0. Here we see 180, so we don't want to use the inside scale. We want to use the outside scale for this angle. We want to follow this along the outside scale until we find where the other ray of this angle goes through the protractor. Since this is at 120, this angle measures 120 degrees. On the other angle on this card, our baseline goes through on the other side from the right side. So it is going through 0 on the inside scale. So this is where we will use the inside scale, follow along until we find that it goes through 150. So this angle measures 150 degrees. Sometimes your baseline will be vertical and your protractor will already be rotated to the correct side. But again, you will want to line up the vertex of your angle with your protractor, with the center mark of your protractor. Your baseline on this angle is going through 0 on the outside scale. So we'll want to use that to measure our angle. This angle measures 50 degrees. On the second angle, when we line up our vertex, the baseline is going through the 0 on the inside scale. As you can see, this angle is going through halfway between 60 and 70 degrees. And you can actually use these little marks on the very edge of your protractor to count that it's 5 after the 60 degree line and 5 before the 70 degree line. Be careful not to get confused and use the wrong scale here. It's sometimes easy to do. So we don't want to use this outside scale. Again, we're using the inside scale for this angle. And so this angle measures 65 degrees. Sometimes your angles won't have a horizontal or a vertical baseline, so you'll need to subtract. Again, you'll want to line up the vertex with the center of your protractor and then find where each of the rays go through the protractor. You can use either scale for these types of angles. Here we can see that this goes through 50 and 100, so we'll want to subtract those two. 100 minus 50 equals 50 degrees. Again, you can use the other scale. If we can see that this goes through 130 and 80, so if we subtract those, 130 minus 80, we still get 50 degrees. Be careful to use the same scale when you're subtracting. If you want to use the outside scale, make sure to use both of the outside numbers to subtract. Don't use the 50 and then the 80 and subtract. On our second angle, again, we want to line it up with the vertex. Again, be careful when one of your rays is going between any of the marked numbers. Here we can see that this ray is going through at 60, and this ray is going through between 120 and 130. So our marker here is 125. And those are the numbers that we want to use to subtract. 125 minus 60 gives us 65 degrees. Again, we can use the inside scale if we would prefer. 120, this ray is going through halfway between 60 and 50, so that's a mark of 55. 120 minus 55 gives us 65 degrees.